I guess, and I hope that this one is gonna be just really fucking great. So, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And I'm pretty fucking pumped to be here once again, as every single day, pumping through this kinda nice thing. Not shit. But actually laying it besides me because I hope it just somehow reduces the echo in my room. I could have done just more, I guess, just putting something on my desk so that it's not getting echoed right away, but I guess it's, working like this anyways. So yeah, I hope you're doing fine, and today I think we're just going to go through, or we will start with such a great book. I actually don't know why I haven't started to go through this one. I think that there were just some rules or some things this author said in the book that I didn't quite, I didn't quite like or something, but still, I think it's a very great book because also, some very great people that I pretty much appreciate, have something like a foreword, if this is actually called like this, or forward. Let's see, actually. Yeah, forward. On the fucking cover, which is extremely great, I guess. And I do just think like, okay, this could be just very, very valuable for me, and also for the people that are just, listening to me and are watching me or whatsoever, and also for their future, and also for my future. And I do think, because we're going to just go through it on the alanchang.com website, which is known to be a pretty fucking detailed one, it's gonna take us a while, I guess, or at least it will take me a while, and I'm still looking forward to it. And I just thought like, okay, no, I do not want to go through another TED Talks or ideas.ted.com article anymore, because they are short and they are great. This is nothing to kind of complain or debate about. They're just really fucking great to just kind of fill the gaps somehow. But I still just, want to work on just a big one, even though I do just also understand, which is basically something that I've been talking about yesterday, that, all these long things, they do just, create this kind of a framework that people just practically have to really listen to every singular one. Because maybe there are some parts in the book that somehow are just connected together, and therefore they just won't understand one of them if they just don't know the other. And this would, then be not so great for me, because I want to just provide something that everybody can listen to. But I hope I can just, put it in such a way that every singular episode, no matter, in which kind of order you're just listening to it or watching it, that it will give you some value. And I do think it has always been like this, hopefully. But yeah, enough to just actually create the suspense. We are going to go through Principles by Ray Dalio. I think I've gone through it once before, but it was quite a short summary, and I think I wasn't just pretty kind of satisfied with it. And there were just, other books that I just, wanted to go through as well. Actually two. The first one, so the two that I've just, been kind of, having a glance on pretty quickly, just before actually starting the episode, and before I actually decided to or quite after I've decided to just go through something that is a little longer than these TED Talk or TED articles. The first one was, about history and about the war history, I guess. And the second one was this Principles. And I initially thought like, why wouldn't I just take the history and war history one, because it would be great. And I do think that it's just, it just gives a lot of value, or it provides a lot of value as well, especially, and this is the funny thing about it, Ray Dalio just actually calls it his top three, or it is one of his top three books actually, And this quite says a lot, I guess. And I think also Bill Gates was talking about it as well. So another coincidence, because he's actually on the cover, Bill Gates, if you can see. But yeah, I think we'll just start with Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalio. Actually, let's have a quick look at the cover. So it's quite a really basic and really, really simple and clean cover, and I totally like it. I really love it. And these are the two kind of quotes, I would even say, or forewords, whatever you want to call them, on the front. And the first one is from Bill Gates, which is, Ray Dalio has provided me with invaluable guidance and insights that are now available to you in Principles. And the second one is from Tony Robbins, which is, I found it to be truly extraordinary. Every page is full of so many principles of distinctions and insights. And I love how Ray incorporates his history and his life in such an elegant way. Because basically, a part of this whole book is actually a biography of him. Is it called an autobiography if it is actually from the author himself? Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it, and I hope that the text is actually big enough. Let's do it like this. You know, it's pretty fucking big, but I guess, nah. I think I just go with this one. I guess your screen isn't as as much smaller than mine is, or even bigger. Like yeah. So Ray Dalio is founder of Brightwater Associations, the largest hedge fund in the world. In his book Principles, Work and Life, Dalio shares the guiding principles powering his success and bridge waters. Principles is a masterclass in rational thinking. The main theme is that finding truth is the best way to make decisions, and that ego, emotion, and blind spots prevent you from discovering the truth. Dalio shares his major strategies to circumvent these weaknesses, including radical open-mindedness, thoughtful disagreement, radical transparency, and believability. Yes, believability, weighted decision-making. In this Principle Work and Life summary, you will learn how to rational you and the emotional you fight to control your life, how to get past your ego in pursuit of your goals, and the 5-step process for getting what you want out of life, and why you need other people to improve your probability of being right. So how to get the most out of these principles, this summary. And like most non-fiction books, Principles is quite lean and high level. Aside from the first biographical section, Dalio itches, whatever it actually means. It means abstain from, or refrain from, give up, forego, forswear, shun, renounce, swear, something like this. Folly or fluffy anecdotes, and hits you with succinct, which is conscious rules and tactics for life and work. This means that without really internalizing the lessons, Dalio's principle will sound merely like platitudes and pass through your brain without changing anything. So how many times have you read a non-fiction book only to ignore its teachings and leave your weaknesses intact? Quite often, I would say. Even for me, what I'm talking about, even for me, but it also happened to me. I have been just going through quite a few books, I would say, and I think I've just actually forgotten quite at least 50% of it, which is just a shame, and which is just fucked up, but it always depends on when you're reading it. And it is quite just a funny thing that I'm just talking about it, because this was actually some sort of a part of one of this Tim Ferriss interviews, where he was talking to, I unfortunately don't remember his name, but it was a quite interesting story. He's the founder of CD Baby. If you know this site, I haven't known it before, but now I just know it, which is great, which is totally great. But it was quite interesting, because what was I talking about actually? Because they were talking about that it really just that it really matters when you're just going through a book or when you're reading a book, because and also the order of the books you're reading. Like, there might have been one book, and this was actually the story of the person he was interviewing. This person was just going through a book, and it was one of the greatest books he had ever read. The funny thing about it is that afterwards he had just read another book which was basically about the same exact kind of thing. The problem there, and the funny thing about this is now that he doesn't like the second one, or he didn't like the second one, and he still doesn't do it. So the problem there is, what would have been just if he would have chosen the first one, or actually the second one as the first one and the first one as the second one, then everything would be just completely different. So therefore it always depends on also whether you're just reading it as an ebook, a normal book, when, how, whatever. There are a lot of just factors at my point of view at least. But I think let's just be a little faster. So I've written the summary to synthesize principles, main themes. So basically, talking about because I've read through it beforehand. That is just only a summary, and that you should also just check out the whole book and also read the whole book, because this is just a primer for your brain. Like this just really sets your brain for the right attitude and for the right kind of information it will receive. And there's not a big explanation for why the rules are that they are, or why the rules are like they are. Like, yeah, this makes sense. So it would make sense, at least, the author says that you also go through the real book and or the full book. So throughout the summary of principles, work and life, I've also added sections called stop and do this exercise. I recommend actually stopping and completing the exercise, and I went through them myself and took 10 private pages of notes on my weaknesses and how I'm going to improve them. Even more, I recommend reading this actual book where Dalio clarifies his reasoning behind the principles. The summary should serve merely as a primer and reinforcement of the main concepts. So remember that it is better to spend 20 hours engaging with a book that might change your life trajectory than to finish a book in 5 hours and change nothing. Totally. And now I'm really thankful for me actually just going through this quite long introduction phase, so that we actually can come to the one-page principles work and life summary. So the one-page summary, which is always great, and I guess it also primes your head somehow, or your brain somehow, to some degree. Like, it's just great to see what's coming up and to see what to just be excited about. So finding the truth is the most important thing possible to make the best possible decisions you can. Making the best decisions get you closer to your goals, which makes sense. And at my point of view, just really being truthful, especially to yourself, about the things you are able to do, about the things you're good at and you're bad at, what you can't do, what you're not able to do, is pretty important. Because, if you're only thinking about like, okay, I would really like to be an architect, but you can't fucking draw and you can't just, think in three-dimensional shapes, you will have a hard time. And this is just something you have to be truthful with yourself about. Like, okay, you just have to admit, this is something that I'm not good at. Because if you would just pursue this one thing, even though you would like it, chances are pretty high that you will fail at it. I do not really want to encourage you, if there's something you just really want to do and, you still aren't good at it, or you think, it might be a hard time, still, go for it. I do not really want to encourage you, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. I hope, at least. I really hope. And now I'm sad. Never mind. So 2 things get in the way of finding truth. The first one is your ego and emotions, and the second one is your blind spot. First one, ego and emotions, totally right. Your ego, especially the ego, and also emotions, like they just really can distract you from actually finding or just going on the right path, or just, following the right path, even though you just already know it. It is pretty tough. And also the blind spot, because the blind spot, prevents you from things that you should know, but you don't know. And this may also lead to the first thing that I was talking about, which is that you might pursue something that you're not made for. Like some people are just, athletic because they were born this way. Some people have just, they've just always been liking to deal with numbers, and therefore they just have a great ability or just a great chance to be a good manager or to be a good accountant or something like this. And to get over these two barriers, you need internally to be radically open-minded and externally to seek help from believable people. Something really important. I'm still not trying to go through it just too quickly. I'm just seeing now that I'm just, kind of stepping over these things, which is something that I do not want to do. But I think seeking help is something that's incredibly just great. First of all, but I would also say that people who are actually doing this are, at my point of view, pretty strong. Like mentally, yeah, physically, not necessarily, but sometimes as well. But maybe because, I do not really want to ask for help. Like, I'm never ever seeking help because somehow I just don't want it. Somehow, I can't really explain it. I'm not a person who just wants to be helped. Most of the time, sometimes I'm just really feeling good just asking people, okay, how do you do this? How could I do this? How could I improve in this? It always depends on the person, who I'm talking to. If it is really a person that I'm appreciating and or admitting, and or thinking about, like, okay, this person is definitely going to be able to help me. Like, this is my mentor, or this is just a person that is really knowledgeable in this certain subject or in this certain case, then I would definitely ask. But I wouldn't just, you see, I wouldn't just ask quite anyone. Just having to plug in my little light so that you can actually see me. And I really love this episode. It's quite been a little bit crazy and a little bit interesting, and speaking went well to kind of pretty much reflect on it a little bit. I think everything has been quite okay up to this point. Yeah. And the light is also okay, which is fucking great. Hey. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope this is somehow working. I hope it's just, the exact same light situation like before. But yeah, so I still think that, people who are actually seeking help also from people who just are really on their level, because this is something that I'm just really kind of not good at. I'm not caring, if I'm actually just talking to a person I know that this person is actually just above me. Like, he's just a level up. And he's a level just bigger than I am. And then it's totally fine for me to actually seek for help and ask them, okay, how could I do this? And this would actually be nice for me to have, like, someone that actually just went through all the things that I'm going to go through, and which is quite the mentor thing, I guess. But yeah. So recognize that the chance that you independently always have the best answer is extremely low. It actually is. Yeah, it actually is. A second one is always be fearful that you're wrong and you're missing information. Might be great. If you're really just fearing it all the time, you will totally just be willing to get every single information you can get, which is totally great because, you won't miss out on anything if you're just thinking this way. The third one is, would you willingly blind yourself into doing something wrong? Most people do this. So would you willingly blind yourself into doing something wrong? I'm quickly gonna translate this for me. Actually, just set up a translation thing here. Yeah, never mind. Um, hmm. Never mind. I hope you get what it actually means. So, would you willingly blind yourself into doing something wrong? Most people do this. It kind of seems like, okay, most people just know that they're doing something the wrong way, but they're still like kind of dealing with it somehow. This is just, what I'm feeling. This is not what I'm just, seeing, what I'm logically just getting out of it, but this is just what I'm feeling. Don't say I'm right. Ask, how do I know I'm right? Yeah, it somehow makes sense. This just really proves your knowledge quite. Like, this just really shows you, okay, like, how should I say it? um, if you're just saying like, okay, I'm right, I'm totally right, then you're right. But if you just think like, how do I know that I'm right? Then you think kind of reflecting on yourself, or you're reflecting yourself and your thoughts and all these things, which is like something that really could help to open you and open your mind and make you a little bit more open-minded actually, because it shows you like, okay, does this, what I'm knowing, does this make any sense? Is this actually the answer for this? Is it actually right? Just asking questions. And in general, I've been talking about it. I do think that asking yourself questions is just really something that's incredibly incredibly great, because you kind of just put yourself in a situation that you wouldn't have been in if you wouldn't just ask yourself questions, obviously, but you put yourself in pretty extraordinary situations, I think. Extraordinary situations, at my point of view at least, because you're really reflecting, like you're really kind of stepping back a bit and looking at your life and what you're doing and your thoughts and whatever it will be. I'm sorry for that. And then you might think like, okay, I'm totally wrong, or what am I talking about? Or does this even make sense? Or is this even right? But let's see. Let's go on. So an important truth people commonly ignore is their own weaknesses and mistakes. Thinking about this causes them pain. So by ignoring your weaknesses and mistakes, you're handicapping yourself in achieving your goals. It totally is. It totally is. And I think I just don't have to add something. So mistakes and pain are nature's reminder to learn. You must reflect on your mistakes and design solutions to your problems to evolve. And this makes sense. This just really shows you that you also kind of need mistakes and need some failure and need some fails. Because you just, if you wouldn't have any fails and if you wouldn't have anything to just, quite solve, or quite any mistakes to kind of, solve, then there's just nothing to evolve about. Like, this would actually mean that you're on the highest level possibly. The thing there is, what I'm seeing there, if you're just really not being honest about your mistakes and that you've actually made mistakes, then there is no fucking way you could evolve. Even though you're making mistakes, but you're just not admitting it, or you're just not being truthful to yourself and being like, okay, this was a mistake. I should have done it better. How could I have done it better? How can I do it better in the future? And all these things, I think this just leads to a lot of questions. And these questions are just great and valuable for you to actually involve, as they say. So, I think it makes sense. Like, if you're not just really admitting, okay, this is a mistake, or this was a mistake, or I've done a mistake, then there's no chance that you could evolve. Because everything would just be the same. Like, okay, I guess you would just, do it the same way the next time. Or it's just about admitting it to other people. This could also be a thing. Like, just not everybody wants to be like, okay, this was a failure. This was just a mistake. I could have done it better. And the 5-step process for getting what you want. The first one is set clear goals. The second one is identify problems and don't tolerate them. Very important, because if you're being like, okay, it's totally okay, I'm having this problem, but, let it be it, and we just, go on to the third point. guess this wouldn't work. Like in the long term, in the short term, it might work, but for the whole company or for the whole business kind of journey or for the whole success story, I think it won't work out somehow. I don't actually know why I'm thinking this way, but it somehow feels a bit this way. Diagnose your problems to find root causes, design solutions to get around problems, and do the tasks required to completion. Makes sense. Very important that he's actually pointing it out, because action is something that a lot of people lack on. Like, there are a lot of people who just, read books, and there are a lot of people who just listen to podcasts, and there are a lot of people who just like to think and like to just, be in the theoretical kind of space. But if they don't execute, everything is just worthless. Everything they've learned, just theoretically, practically, is totally not worthless, because just knowledge is something that's, at my point of view, very important. Very, very, very important, because the only two things that you will have in your life until you die is your body and your mind. So I would totally take care of them. Even though, just having a lot of knowledge doesn't actually mean that you're taking care of them. To some degree it does, because, you're somehow training your brain and just, filling it with stuff which it actually needs. Like, you need just also train your brain somehow. But yeah, so the 5-step process is common sense, but most people don't actually do it for a variety of reasons. People are weak at one or more of these steps. Identify what your weakest steps are and then get better at them, or find someone who can help you compensate for them. Makes sense, I'm sorry. If you're just thinking about a company and you maybe have a business partner, or you may not have a business partner up to this point, and you're seeing like, okay, let's go to the let's actually go to the 5-step process for getting what you want. First one is set clear goals. I guess this is something that everybody is able to do, like having goals that you can actually that you just calculate. Like, it has to be some sort of a number, it has to be some sort of something that's quite measurable. If it is really something like, okay, my really my really favorite one is actually, I want to be famous, or I want to be rich. Okay, and how do you actually progress in becoming rich, and what is actually rich? So a clear goal somehow just has to be a few things, like measurable. A lot of people just, talk about SMART goals, something that I've learned, or we have learned in the class in marketing, which makes sense. The first one is S for, I don't fucking know. I really don't know. I'm sorry, but one of them is actually actionable, and one of them is measurable, and all these great things. So it should totally be measurable. Like, you do just have to see if you're making progress or not, and you do just have to re-engineer it, or you should be able to re-engineer it, which means that, okay, in 5 years I'm gonna have $1 billion in my bank account, even though it is somehow unrealistic, and it could work, it could totally work if you're having a great idea. But the good thing about it is that, okay, in 5 years there are $5 billion that I have to have in my bank account, which means, okay, how much money do I have to actually earn per year that I'm able to just achieve this goal? Then how much money do I just have to be able to earn a month to be able to do this? How many money do I have to earn in a week and a day, in this certain second, and whatsoever? And what can I do to actually get this? What can I actually do to get to this point, whether it be the X amount of money in the second, the X amount of money in the minute, the X amount of money in the hour, or the next X amount of money in the year? By the way, I'm not a manager. I'm not a goal setter, I'm anything like this. I do not have, I haven't even set myself any goals, for everything that I'm doing. I'm just doing it at the time. Because, I think I'm going to talk about it because I think somehow, but I'm not quite sure if this is actually what I'm thinking, because I just somehow just let it be it. Like, I'm not quite thinking about it that often. But so I have a clear goal. Okay, I'm just gonna, let it be what it is. The second one is, no, by the way, no. I just don't want to just kind of, put this aside or something. I quite feel like, okay, if I would be like, okay, in the next 12 months, I want to have quite, 5,000 followers on Instagram. I would totally do the exact same shit as today. Maybe would just buy myself promotions. Maybe would start to collaborate. But I would just, do the same shit. Like, I'm doing the maximum that I'm able to do. Like, I'm just at the highest, quite the highest level I can be on. Like, for sure, there's some other ways that would be involved in, like, okay, as I'm thinking about it, having a goal wouldn't actually be that bad. Because if it was like, okay, in 5 years, I just want to have 100K or something on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever it is, then I would somehow force myself to actually go to work, to buy new equipment, to buy shoutouts, to buy whatever it will be, so that I'm just really getting to this goal by the end of the 5th year. Yeah. It somehow makes sense. It really somehow makes sense. In terms of earning money, it's somehow like easier, as in terms of followers, because followers isn't quite something you can, besides the fact that it is a bad metrics and that, doesn't make any sense, because often just the follower count doesn't say anything about how much money you're making with what you're doing. If you're actually happy, like, having 100 people who are actually watching this fucking episode would make me so extremely happy. I really guess, it's still making me happy because I can do them, but I would just appreciate it just totally if it only, quote unquote, was 100 people or 50 people or even 20 people or 10 people who really just like what I'm doing here. So it would feel great, would really feel great. But I was for like, okay, having follower as a metrics is somehow bad because I can't influence it that well. Like, for sure I can pay shoutouts or buy shoutouts or whatever it will be, but organically it's somehow tough. In terms of money, okay, you just have to do X amount of work to just get to there, or X amount of projects or whatever you're working. Like, it would be fairly easy. Simple, not easy. The third one is diagnose your problems to find root causes. Also makes sense because, like, where's the problem? And just really kind of being on the surface and just always kind of cleaning away all the problems won't just kind of get you anywhere. You just really have to go to the root and dig it out and throw it away and just burn it or some shit like that. Then design solutions to get around problems. Totally, if you know what the problems are, just have a way to just, not run into them or just kind of surround them or get around them or whatsoever. And the last one is do the tasks required to completion. As I said, execution is very, 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 very important. And if you may just do have problems with actually diagnosing your problems, it would totally be nice, to have a second pair of eyes to actually see the problems or feel the problems or identify them. Because this, I could imagine that, this is actually one of the problems some people can have. Also in terms of actually being truthful to yourself and being honest with the problems that you're having and the mistakes you're doing and the mistakes that actually lead to the problems and whatsoever. I guess this is it. It was quite an interesting episode, to be honest. I kind of feel like, okay, I haven't been talking in such a great way, like somehow pretty, not monotonous or something, but somehow like, I don't know what I said, but it's quite, I'm still loading it up. I'm still uploading it. There's no debate about whether I just will upload it or not because the content isn't good or some shit like this, because it's just dumb to say, because I'm not the judge of my fucking content, other people are. And if other people don't like it, I just have to think about it. Or my audience. So other people in general, audience, yeah, okay, if they don't like it, I should just have to adapt, or give a fuck about it. Like, yeah. Really quite an interesting episode. Really, really quite interesting. I'm not that satisfied, to be honest. Really not that satisfied. I do not know why. If it is in terms of the speaking, if it is in terms of what I've been speaking about, if it was too fast, too slow, if it was like too much that I was reading. Because as you might know, reading, I don't know if it is good or bad. Not for me, but for the people actually watching me and or listening to me. But yeah, still, I love you. And I'll see you, and I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success. And still remember how you're gonna be remembered. And yeah, I'll see you soon. And maybe therefore, if you know that you're gonna be remembered as either a bad person or a good person, maybe you have to just adapt. Maybe you just have to be a little bit nicer to the people around you, or even give to charity. Could also be a thing. But yeah, I wish you the best, and I'll see you.